Hello and welcome to the Fellowship Phase, an Adventures in Middle-earth podcast. I'm Josh and that's Callum, and that is Scott. And we're going to give you inside information on how to find your own way through Tolkien's world.
Towering above other men, this Beorning stands out in any crowd, bristling with weapons, spear, dagger, warhammer and axe. No great axe though, not yet. A warg pelt drapes across his shoulders, its head acts as a hood. His dark, deep-set eyes are framed by his long matted hair and gnarly thicket of a beard. A tattoo rakes its way from his left shoulder down to his wrist, the marks of a great bear's claw. Karhu the Elder strikes a fearsome presence. Yet underneath all this is a gentle, haunted soul. He's aged beyond his years, the trauma of his youth filling him with a rage he struggles to control. Battle is where he feels at home, ripping, tearing his enemies to pieces, as was done to his family, long ago.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Cam, you promised us a joke. You said you were going to kick off with a joke before we started recording.
The joke was that there's no joke.
Oh, wow.
I see.
Welcome, Scott.
Welcome.
I feel like because the character we're talking about today isn't much of a joker, I didn't feel it was appropriate to make a joke.
That's very sensitive of you, Callum.
I didn't just think that up right now because I'm drawing a blank on the joke from...
I think that was a good example of improvisation. One of your key skills as a dungeon master.
You're very kind.
We should probably also tell the listeners about the time excitement that we have, which is that we're recording in person and we've ordered food, which may arrive while we're recording the podcast.
It is second breakfast.
Very late for second breakfast.
It's never too late for second breakfast. Well, we're delighted to finally be joined by Scott, aka Karhu, who has been with us from day one of the game and whose character has really grown to be the key member of the Fellowship in some ways and has been integral to one of the many plotlines, I would say.
Yeah, certainly earlier on, I would say. And then again more recently. You and I have spoken about this. I have quite strong feelings about Karhu. Positive feelings, but I have very strong feelings about Karhu. And I've been looking forward to having you on for so long to talk about it. And how important I think Karhu is to our story. And probably some lessons that we've learned as players and as a lore master. And whilst I have a million questions, perhaps we should start with the beginning, creating Karhu, who, if I'm right in thinking, was your first roleplay character you created? I had never played D&D. I always thought it was too nerdy.
Yay!
My brother, who has been on the podcast before, Stuart, he'd been trying to persuade me to play D&D for years, and I always laughed in his face. And then COVID happened, and Callum suggested that, look, we can't do anything else, why don't we give this a go? And I am so grateful, because it was probably one of the things that got me through the pandemic, and it has also introduced new friends. I'd never met Josh, I'd never met James. It's been amazing.
Yeah, and we were all at your wedding, which is...
which is amazing.
So from nerdy beginnings.
That was a real Fellowship phase.
It was. That was the real life Fellowship phase.
See, there was a joke coming. We just needed to get there. So, in terms of character creation, then, so you'd never done. Had you played like role-playing video games?
Video games,
so you
massively.
had a sense of creating a character.
And I had been watching Critical Role for years by that point, so I was aware of D&D, and Grog was my starting point.
Yeah.
Really, I was like, right, what character do you think is going to be easiest for you as a noob? A big idiot that hits things.
Okay.
So I did not know that. That was where you started. Okay.
Yeah, I was at that. I think it was like that. That might be the easiest thing. I think I'm comfortable in saying I know the least about Tolkien out of our group. So playing someone with very low intelligence also leans into it. You know nothing about Tolkien. You just want to hit things. So I knew I was starting with a Slayer in this rather than a Barbarian.
What a great way to start. I suppose it keeps it easy, isn't it? You're like, how do I want to play? I've never played before, so let's keep it easy. I'll make this decision.
Yeah.
Did you find it easy when you started playing? Well, do you remember how you felt those first couple of sessions coming into it?
Scared. I felt quite a lot of pressure for some reason in a way.
Really?
Yeah, I've been like, this is a group thing rather than a video game where it's me.
Mm-hmm.
I'd only play one player experience video games, so there's no multiplayer online thing. I was like, oh, you're actually interacting with other people. You need to make this fun, not just for you, but for other people as well. So I was genuinely quite tense.
Really?
Our first few sessions, yeah.
I did not realise that.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that you and Stuart were certainly at the beginning the two quietest members of the group, and then it's been really great to see you become really comfortable in the group and become more like vocal parts of the group as time has gone on. And I wondered, you said there you'd played a lot of like single player RPGs. Certainly growing up with my brother, one of the things that we always loved doing was video games that were cooperative. Was that something that you and Stuart did, or is there many good co-op RPGs? I don't know if you and I ever really played them.
I think Stuart and I just used to pass the controller.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'd do it until somebody died, or till you got to the end of a level.
Yeah, that's what I am.
And then we'd swap. And so we grew up doing that together.
Well, we spent we never had a console, so we would have like two terrible computers and spend hours. We spend more time trying to get co-op games to run on computers than actually playing games. And I think for me, I kind of wish that RPGs would be in my life earlier, because they sort of resemble the gaming experience that I always wanted in video games and I could never find, which was something that was truly cooperative and collaborative in its approach. And now that I've found that, I find it kind of hard to go back to video games sometimes, because I'm like, it's just so limiting, and like I don't get that sort of social aspect that I crave.
That's interesting. And this is probably a whole other discussion away from Karhu, but I was studying for a long time, so I'd kind of got out of video games, and I finished studying, so I've got lots of free time. The games I've gone back to are very different to the games I used to play, because I also used to play a lot of like role-playing games.
Yeah.
And now I have very little interest doing that in a video game sense. Whereas I think I now play games that are very much, you could only play on a video, like very much like platformers, quite an artistic style. Because I'm like, I feel that it needs the medium of the video game to make this work, and I want to play it for this reason, rather than like chasing an experience, a role play experience, which is just better in person than it is.
Yeah.
I mean, we played in person, like for the first time. I'd never played in person. With Josh running Strad for us for like a whole weekend, and genuinely one of the best weekends of my life.
Yeah, that's
it was incredible.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, we'll need to do it for AIM, and maybe we can record snippets of it or something.
Oh, that would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Well, just think, so from Karhu, beginning in Karhu, not having any idea what was going to happen, and just thinking, I'll just hit things. That's brought you all the way to weekend-long sessions of role-playing games, new friends, weddings and everything. So, making the character then.
Yes.
How did you find... So did you have that kind of character concept of something like Grog, a kind of...
Yeah, I knew Barbarian from watching the first campaign of Critical Role. So when Callum said we were going to be playing AIM, I think Stuart instantly got us a book. Like, before Cubicle.
Yeah, we talked before about... On episode 0 of this podcast, we talked about how fortunate timing-wise we were getting just before they disappeared. Stuart's very much like that, isn't he?
Yeah.
He just goes and he commits to something and just gets it. And I'm a bit more like standoffish and takes me really a long time to commit to buying something, which sometimes comes back and to bite you, doesn't it? Like, it just no longer exists. Just can't buy it now. Yeah. That's really good. So you shared a book.
Yeah, so we shared a book, and then Stuart very kindly got me a book as well. So I wish I could say I looked at other classes, but I instantly was like, no, you have this in your head, you're playing Slayer. Yeah. So I went straight to page 72 or whatever it is, and went straight to Slayer and didn't even really look at any other options.
Yeah, I like that.
Partly because I didn't want to know, because I knew other people would be playing different things, and I don't want to know what they can do.
Yeah, it's awesome when someone levels up and has a new ability and you haven't read about it.
It's
and you're
really
like,
exciting.
oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. Yeah.
So how does one build a Slayer? So if we've started with the class feature, so I guess it's a very martial, it's kind of what you would imagine it. It's got a D12 hit dice, so really hardy, and you get proficiency in pretty much all weapons and armour, apart from heavy armour, I think. And your saving throws are strength and constitution, and you get a choice of skills, so from animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, survival. And I think, remember that you probably took athletics and intimidation?
I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's quite an intimidating guy, Karhu. I'm not going to lie. And so, next question. What's the next question?
The core mechanics of a Slayer. So most of the classes get in the first level or two the thing that kind of defines what they do. So for a thief, it is not a thief. What are they called in this? Treasure hunters. Terrible as that. I was reading like third edition rules. Treasure hunters. It's all about sneaking, sneak attack, being able to dodge, hide is a bonus action.
Working.
Thank you. I was glitching there. What are the core mechanics then for a Slayer? What are the things can you get up front that then define what the class does?
I always think of Travis saying, I would like to rage.
Yes.
Whereas in this it's fury instead, which is awesome. And I think in story purposes, in a fight when you're like, just want to like lose it and go and hit something. That for me is kind of what Slayers are all about. Is you live to fight. That is your whole purpose. Is you want to hit things. You want to feel the horrible visceralness of being in a battle.
The battle furies, I think you do a really good job when you're playing Karhu of making that a really thematic moment. Yeah. And although sometimes it can, there's not maybe as many like options outside of combat, I think that it kind of makes combat a role-playing moment in itself. It's like, kind of, well, why are they angry? Yeah. What's happened to this person in their life that they're like this? Mm-hmm. You mentioned that briefly in your intro, and we'll come on to that in a future episode where we'll do more of a deep dive into Karhu's story. But it's a really powerful ability, isn't it? Particularly that resistance to damage, particularly in a game like AIM, where as opposed to 5th edition, there is a lot less other types of damage. So pretty much all damage is going to be bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, and you're resistant to that. So it almost makes me feel like this is more powerful in this setting. I think barbarians are pretty powerful in 5th edition anyway, but I think the Slayer in this game is a really powerful option. Yeah,
there's much less of a like martial caster disparity than there is in D&D, which is always a big hot topic at the moment, but there is more of a martial game. It's a much more grounded setting. Something I really like, because I'm currently playing a warrior as Halmir. They're the two kind of classes which are built around martial combat. All of them can operate in combat. Warden has some abilities and Wander does as well, but those are the two that are really frontline fighters, as it were. Yeah. They're very different flavour though, and I think our characters are very different flavour, and I think the Battle Fury really sums it up, because it feels like a very different style of fighting. It's kind of raw and kind of much more emotional, and it gives you like your buffs, your advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. You get bonus damage and your resistance to damage, none of which a warrior gets. But a warrior has a lot more kind of small options that give them, but it feels almost like a kind of more controlled type of melee fighter. And I like when we're fighting alongside each other, because ultimately we both hit things in a very different way.
I mean, I've loved, particularly early on with Halmir, when you tried to implement like structure and tactics, and Karhu was like, "No, sod that. I can hit him. I'm not going to wait in line." Like, you wait here, you coward, and I'll go and hit him in the face.
I think it was a bit of character development for Halmir, realising that actually you running in and hitting things was the best thing to do.
It's amazing actually how much and I think this speaks to the way that you guys play your characters, is that I think sometimes the criticism of D&D and these sort of games can be that combat resolves around bags of hit points and hitting, it can be reduced into a very mechanical thing, and when combat is good, I think it's partially down to who's running it in order to try and create interesting situation and objectives which aren't just kill everybody or be killed, and aren't just everyone's over there or there and make terrain. And we've talked about that before. But the other side of it is on the players to be having those role playing moments, even within combat, where you're this, even between the two of you, you're both martial abilities, but and you can allow that in the game to say is there, I'm trying to do that sometimes, Karhu runs in and does something and Halmir had this tactic, and so just allowing you the opportunity in the middle of combat, even though I think rules was written sometimes it's it's only 6 seconds and you can't speak, having that role playing in there, Matt Mercer talked about this recently. I can't remember what it was on, but he was talking about how the rules can sometimes get in the way of the fun, and I think that's a real thing, is the combat not being so prescriptive. And I used to be like this, and I think I've become a lot more relaxed about, actually, if you want to talk in combat, talk all you want. If the players actually want to do role playing, then don't stop. Why are you stopping them? There's a bit of a limit to it. They're sort of being too tactical and stuff. But so yeah, the Battle Fury is a key thing, and then Reckless Attack and Unarmored Defense is a sort of level 1 starting point. And I think those are really define the characters. They're pretty similar to the Barbarian, aren't they? They're there's not much difference. So I think at second level you get Vigilant Senses, so you're more likely to detect things, and then at third level you choose a path.
Yes.
So what path did you take as a sort of the subclass?
Is it Hammer?
Faux
hammer. That's what. That instantly made sense to me for Karhu. The other ones, the rider, I could never envisage him being on a horse. I think to go away from this part of it, but as a Beorning, it never made sense for me in his head to ride an animal as a servant sort of thing.
Wow, yeah, that's the point.
So he is just going to hit things harder and get more ability to hit things harder.
It is actually, we've now got Brendan has started running a Rohirric character who is the rider, and it's really cool seeing that. I'll maybe talk to him about that at some point. But and then the other thing that comes to mind is that as a party, you had a pony for a while. What was his name again?
Oh God,
the horse that goes around with you.
Begins with
Pensive.
Pensive the horse. Love that name. Kind of very, very normal horse, not very heroic horse, but it's done. It's very much not
a horse you'd ride into battle.
Not
has helped carry on.
Yeah, very much Bill the Pony vibe.
Yes, very much so.
Bill the Pony, amazing, real hero of the Fellowship of the Ring, and so you've never really had mounts or horses. It's been a lot of walking. And at the moment, I'm running another campaign based in Rohan off the sort of published scenarios for that. And oh my God, them all being on horseback changes so much. It changes the journeys, it changes the combat. It's quite complicated, and there's loads of rules around it. I really like it, but it's very different. So I'm quite glad, actually, in a way, that people didn't have horses, because it would have made things a lot more complicated. So yeah, the Forehammer, what sort of benefits does that give you as a Slayer?
Starting at third level, gain the full benefits of your Battle Fury whilst wearing heavy armour.
Yeah, because the base class kind of discourages armour, and I think it's another point of difference between warriors, who are much more martial in a kind of soldierly way, like they would be trained and equipped in different types of armour, whereas that's not really the basis for a Slayer or a Barbarian. But this kind of almost reverses that and makes you a slightly tankier
a tankier tank.
Yeah, so really, you didn't take heavy armour and you went for the unarmoured defence.
That was purely for theme.
Yeah,
I was like, I cannot imagine why a Beorning would have plate armor.
No.
Like, why?
It just wouldn't make any sense at all.
They wouldn't be able to forge that, so that just doesn't make any sense to me.
It's pretty cool. I actually wonder if at some point in the future, one day, I don't imagine this will be the case, but just like that scene in Helm's Deep in the film,
Yeah.
where they're all putting on the heavy armor,
Yeah.
and you're like, Karhu just suddenly puts on, and everyone's like, wait, what?
You can wear armour all along!
Yeah, and his AC like suddenly jumps up loads, and you're like, oh. Although I don't know if it would be that much better, but it's a nice. It gives you more options. And I'm now reading this section, thinking, Gondorian,
The Gondorian Slayer, yeah,
That would be very cool.
Quite cool.
Yeah. So that just never made any sense to me for Karhu to start wearing armour that he shouldn't really have any access to. Also, he's hard enough for you to kill as it is.
Yeah, his hit points are ridiculous.
His hit points are crazy. His resistance to everything when he's raging.
Has he ever been unconscious?
No, he's come close. A couple of times.
Gundabad been
Gundabad,
unconscious a few times.
a lot. Gundabad, I think, was probably the closest you came into. I think you were into single-digit hit points at that point.
Karhu wasn't there.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Scott was there with a different
Scott was there, but
forgot
Karhu
that.
wasn't there.
yeah. Oh man.
The armour thing, I think, is another. I think I'm looking at this through the lens of playing Helmer. It's such a difference that he has a very high AC of 21. Hit point wise, I think I've always rolled for hit points, and I think he's actually below the average curve where I could have been if I'd taken average all along. So he's very hard to hit, but quite squidgy. Whereas Karhu's kind of the opposite. He's not hard to hit, but doesn't take a lot of damage.
Yeah, I've also
And has huge hit points.
I also like rolling whenever possible, so I've rolled every level up for Karhu, and I've only on 3 occasions not rolled a 12. So his hit points are insane.
Yeah.
He's a mountain of a man, as you said.
Yeah. And then shall we continue reading down?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so at 6th level, hooked and hasped. Armour no longer impedes you in any way, so you add your full dex to your armour class regardless of the armour rating. You're no longer subject to stealth disadvantage when wearing medium armour.
I'm just reading that again. So that's really interesting. Regardless of the type. So if you wear heavy armour, you can add your full dex modifier.
So
to
your
it.
AC would be bonkers.
So great shield. So that means you could get the highest AC. You get a higher AC than any other class because
Yes, I think so.
take a heavy armour, take a great shield.
If you take,
Oh man!
if you're
Yeah.
Gondorian, you can take an heirloom tower shield, which gives you an extra plus. So you'd get a shield with +5. You could have, I think, with heavy armor, you could get an AC of 16, and then if you had high dex, you could get up to 24, 25.
You'd be impossible to hit.
Don't do this.
You'd have to gear all of your decisions around just getting a stupidly high AC.
We're planning a Gondorian campaign in the near future. James, if you're listening, don't do this.
Please,
Please
James.
don't do this. But actually, if you did it, it's fine. It's fine. What else do you get?
At 10th level, Hammer Hand, and this is something I was telling Callum earlier, I didn't actually realise Karhu could do this. So beginning at 10th level, your anger courses through your limbs. At all times, your hands now count as martial weapons. When you are in a battle fury, they do a base 1d4 bludgeoning damage and score a critical hit on a roll of a 19 or 20.
Ooh.
The more important thing, which I didn't know, if you are fighting with a melee weapon other than your hands, then you immediately get a bonus unarmed attack.
Wait, so you can just punch things as
Yeah.
well?
If you miss, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, that's cool.
I can just go, no, I'm just going to punch you in the
I
face.
just love the role playing
Yeah.
of the aspect of that. It's like you hit and then the end. I think I role played the orc laughs in Karhu's face, as he misses him, and then you just punch him in the face and kill him. Punch him in the face, get a 19 critical hit. Boom. That would be.
So I will need to remember that ability for Karhu, because that is very cool.
So as a faux hammer, it's very much about being tougher and dealing kind of furious damage. It's almost like kind of a purer form of the Slayer. It's just focused on being a tank, dealing a lot of damage.
Yeah. Again, big guy that just wanted to hit things. That made the most sense to me for Karhu. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun to watch as a fellow player and kind of audience member. Karhu has been... he's my favourite character of the group, and I think it comes from the fact that he started as a very simple character. I think has actually left huge room for kind of growth, and I think there's so much we could talk about, and we will talk about now and in other episodes of where he started from as an easy character for you to learn the game with, to 60, 70 sessions later he's still in it as,
and he's grown
kind
so
of the
much
centre point of the campaign
and changed.
Yeah.
So just to run through a couple of the remaining abilities from Slayer. So we've sort of level 9 now with Karhu, aren't we?
Yes, level 9.
And some other things you've got. So Black Mist. So you get advantage on initiative rolls, and you can't be surprised, which is great. You have like a danger sense. What's that under? I'm trying to remember that.
Is that the vigilant?
That's
sense?
the vigilant senses. Yeah. So like, that comes up quite a lot role playing.
there's movement.
You get extra movement.
Yeah.
So increased by 10 speed, which has been really, really cool in that chase that we had. We've talked about that in
so
chase
frustrating for
rules
Ronan.
And again, another thing that really really distinguishes from Helmer as a fighter is we're both frontline fighters, but you're much more mobile, which I think lends to the roleplay, because you can always get to the enemies faster than I can, which I think fits with the idea of you charging in, is that you can actually charge in faster than anyone else can. I also think the downside with being a purely martial character, because you don't really have any ranged... I think you've maybe used it once or twice.
I don't want to.
Is you have to be adjacent to an enemy, which gives you that issue where if you happen to kill something, which often you do, sometimes you're then like, there's nothing near me, I need to get into combat. So being more mobile, I think, helps. Because on the Fury, if
I don't hit or take damage...
on a
my rage drops. Fury drops.
So you have to be in the thick of combat to really get the benefit of your abilities.
Some other things that come, and we've not got there yet. Pierced by many arrows at level 11. If you drop to 0 hit points, you can make a con saving throw. If you succeed, you actually just drop to 1 hit point, and then the DC goes up by 5 every time that happens.
And envisaging Boromir, who actually think is probably a warrior rather than a slayer. Do you think he's a slayer?
Well, I was reading his ability.
Controversy!
Do you think maybe he's multi-class?
Maybe he's multi-class, but this ability feels very much when he's trying to protect the little ones.
Like, he fights off so much stuff
there. And he gets up again.
And we almost think about hit points as like you're getting hit and each time you're taking damage. And I think a better way of hit points is just like how resilient your energy and your just general pool of resources. It's not like because Karhu's got more hit points, he is somehow more resistant, to stabs and wounds, or his, it's just an abstraction of that ability to stay in the fight, whatever that envisages. So that's a really cool one. You keep coming back. Eventually, you get to a stage where your battle fury just continues unless you fall unconscious or you choose to end it. And then you get to a stage where you basically your strength checks can never be lower than your strength score. And in level 20, which Scott and I were just reading before we started recording, and both been like, "What on earth?"
It's mental.
There's a capstone.
Your strength and con scores increased by 4, and your maximum scores for now both of those is now 24, which is just like so crazy. There's similar sort of abilities in 5th edition, isn't there? I think it goes up to like. I think maybe the barbarian one is similar. It goes up that your strength goes up to 22. I don't think it's both strength and con go to 24.
No. I mean, that is insane.
There's again in D&D it's tougher because of the level of magic. The disparity between people who can cast spells and people who can't means that when you get to high levels of barbarians or fighters or rogues, if you think about it, like wizards at that level are able to like shape space and time. And it's like, well, what could a barbarian do that's like equivalent to that?
I really want to, because the oh god, I've forgotten the name of the publishers that make the new Lord of the Rings RPG.
Free League.
The Free League version, the Lord of the Rings RPG, which I desperately want to get the book of and do review of, goes to level 10. And that's a very deliberate design choice. And the more I think about it, I think the more it actually makes sense. But reading these level 20 abilities in these characters, I'm now like thinking about what we could do.
Or if you did a high level.
Yeah. I'm thinking, here's my pitch. I don't know if you've got pitches for level 20. Think about yours now. Don't steal mine.
I already have one.
It's a Calamity style game.
No, but I want to write down my thing so that you're not going to believe I've just stolen it from you. You keep talking.
It's a Calamity style game. It's the Fall of Gondolin.
I'm not a piece of paper. Fall of Gondor.
And you're all like
Fun.
elves, and you're leader of the houses, and there's like this huge in the book The Fall of Gondolin, which I think Scott's probably not read, but it's something around here. It's this like amazing. It's very like Calamity, and if you know what Calamity is, it's this amazing series of games from Critical Role, and it's like, you know, go back in time, and they're all super leveled, and it's just the best, I think, little mini series that they've done. It's so engaging, so fun. And like these like characters, like building these rules in, and you'd have to do some homebrew, and I think you could bring in some more magical stuff, but like really powerful abilities. It's a really cool like series of events.
And what would we all fight in the Fall of Gondolin?
Oh, I know what you've written down. So.
You've already know that I've written down. Balrogs.
Balrogs.
We just fight loads of Balrogs.
That'd be so cool.
We should do it.
There's a
very
dragon, and like, you know, it's pretty extras, isn't it?
Okay, let's put a pin in this and think about this. Level 20 Fall of Gondolin. Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah. So we talked about that because of Slayer. The
other
one last ability to mention. Level 14 is a full hammer. You can choose to automatically score a critical hit in melee weapon with a weapon, but then your weapon is broken. Love that.
Oh,
Such a cool idea. Or you can automatically destroy an opponent's shield.
That's
It's
interesting.
Just so cool.
Because shield mechanics is something I think, and we've spoken about this in different games, are often kind of underdone in a lot of games. Shields are just like, you get +2, and there's nothing else really about shields, including the idea of being able to break shields, or shields being able to contribute in some other way. So I like the idea of an ability that can protect. Also, because some of the abilities, Halmir's shield, because it's a cultural heirloom, cannot be destroyed.
Yeah, it makes
by
specific mention to that.
Specifically says it can't be destroyed by non-magical means.
Interesting.
But there doesn't appear to be that much about other shields being destroyed. So that feels cool, but not really an ability.
And I'm very reluctant as a lore master to come in and be like, you know, what's those creatures in 5th edition that like turn weapons to rust?
Oh, rust monster. Rust
monsters.
Nothing. It's called rust monsters.
Yeah, and I feel just like when you've got stuff. And I feel this as a player. If I've got stuff, and then you as a DM, Josh, were like, well, your really cool shield or your really cool sword is broken. And you're like, that's just...
Yeah. I think...
I don't like that.
You can have a lot of fun DMing if you create something where it doesn't work temporarily for a reason, and then you present the player with a new challenge. Like, oh, you would normally use that magical sword, but underwater you can't do that. So for one combat, you have to be creative. There's a big difference between that, which I think is fun, and just taking things away from the player, which is no fun at all.
No.
Yeah. So really interesting abilities, and as you get higher, I think there's some... Oh, level 10. Oh, that's a different subclass. Ignore Callum. Any other things that are really like key mechanics, you think, Scott, that's come out for you, or things you wanted to draw particular attention to?
Did you, when you were building, so you knew you wanted to be a Slayer?
Yes.
And some of these early abilities are very similar to what Grog would have had.
Yeah.
Did you read much further ahead in the Slayer? Like, did you look to some of these future abilities, or you were kind of just focused on these early?
I didn't even read past my level.
Okay.
I looked at the book and was like, right, I'm 2nd level, I get this. Then I was like, oh, that's his 3rd, don't look at it.
Bang, done.
I love how like good you are at avoiding spoilers. Because like when I'm building a character, I'm like reading ahead and like, what am I going to do in 6 years' time? Yeah, that's very admirable, and I think that maybe, I don't know how that changed the experience. Everyone's going to be different, aren't they? But
Yeah.
So the other big half of character creation then is what culture you choose.
Mm-hmm.
You were very set on Slayer.
Yes.
Were you also very set on Beorning, or did that require more decision making?
It required a little bit more decision making for me, because I wasn't as familiar with Tolkien's work as I think some of the other players. I didn't know as much. I mean, I've seen the films many times. I hadn't read the books at the time when we started, so I read through. I think I read through all of the peoples of Middle Earth. The only other one that I thought about doing was a dwarf, because that also made sense to me,
Yeah.
having a dwarf that was so angry.
Slayer dwarf, yeah.
I'm thinking how different the game would have been if you
Massive.
Yes,
you and
massively.
Stuart had both been dwarves.
Yeah,
It would have been different.
it would have
It
been
very
so different.
I
But
think, yeah.
I then looked at Beornings and was like, well, Bjorn's a big old bear. Kind of makes sense for someone that follows him as a leader to maybe have an anger management problem.
Yes. Yeah. Feels very fitting.
And you're more of a wild person than the rest of the people. That made sense. And that, combined with Slayer, combined with the background I chose, massively helped me form who Karhu was.
I like that. I like that a lot. I like the idea of approaching it with, I know what class I want to be. Look through the cultures. Which ones of these cultures would it make sense to then turn into this class? So what class abilities do you get access to? Because not class abilities, culture. All cultures have little buffs from the beginning which kind of distinguish them from one another. So what's different about Beornings?
The doorbell has rung.
The doorbell has rung. Gondor calls for aid!
And Callum shall answer.
Right, so what do you get as a Beorning? Ability score increase, your strength score increases by 1, and you may increase 2 additional ability scores by 1. Which, pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. +3. Is that standard amongst all the...
No, they don't all get a +3. Some get access to other abilities, though.
Oh, yes.
That lends itself well to Slayer as well. Throwing the strength, leaning into that. So it kind of fits together, Beorning, Slayer.
Yep.
How aware of Beornings as a culture? Now, the game leans into them being a culture. The books don't really go into it as much depth. I think we've spoken about before, the idea of Beorn and the Woodmen in the books are not as defined as separate cultures, but the game leans in that way. Did you know anything?
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
I didn't know anything going in at all. So it was all just like, alright, cool, yeah, read what the book says. That's what it is.
And did you feel the book gave you enough to do that? Because we've spoken before, a lot of people who play this game will likely be fans of Tolkien. But because of that, the book probably has an excuse not to provide everything, because they assume a lot of knowledge. Did you feel that, as someone who genuinely was starting from scratch, there was enough to work with?
For me, yeah. For me, when you look at the Beornings page and underneath the Lands of the Bear, there was enough there for me where I was like, yeah, that I can come up with a character from this that I feel would be an authentic Beorn, as much as that is a thing.
Yeah.
I also kind of like that it's not, you must be this, you have to prescribe to everything. There's enough there to flesh out a character yourself, but it's not overbearing. It was the way I thought about it. Pun intended.
And the name Karhu.
Yeah, so that isn't one of the names on the list. This is something that I have carried into every character I have created going forward, is that I choose a language.
Oh, good.
And then name them from that. So Karhu means bear in Finnish.
Oh, love it.
I think.
The Finnish fans are going to love that.
And
They've been screaming that every time.
one of our other players, Bert, his wife or her family, I believe, is from there, and he had a beer can called Karhu during one of our games.
Oh, I remember that.
And I was like, "That's so cool! Can you send me that can, please?"
I love it.
Yeah.
So that's how you envisage it, as being a Northern European. I was going to say Scandinavian, but is Scandinavian one of these things where Finnish is not actually Scandinavian?
Let's not get into that debate.
Let's not get into that debate. Although feel free to email us at thefellowshipphase@gmail.com.
Yeah, in my head, I was like, I don't want to make Karhu Scottish because I'm Scottish. I need him to be something other than me, northern from that. And I thought sort of one of that part of the world seemed to make sense to me.
Yeah, I attempt a sort of Scandinavian accent for people in the Andean Vale.
Yeah.
That sort of came to my mind as well. I don't know why, actually.
No.
But I guess it's north.
more north than us.
Yeah,
I guess.
I can just about manage one of those accents. So I can't. That's very cool. I think you'd said that before about the name. I'd forgotten it.
I really like that. And then Bjorn. There probably aren't any other cultures in the book quite so defined by one character from the lore as Beornings. Did you know anything about him? Did you do any reading around Bjorn the character before we started?
I'd read The Hobbit growing up.
Okay.
So I was familiar with Bjorn. I love animals. So I thought it was very cool to be playing a character who kind of took their orders from a half man, half bear, and had a real affinity for animals. That I really liked. But I don't know, other than what I've learnt through our game and what I've read in The Hobbit and blacked out from the Hobbit films. I don't really know much about Bjorn. So it's like what we have learnt through the course of our game about Bjorn has been really cool.
The lore's pretty sketchy.
We're going to come onto the lore.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting, and it's one of those areas where there isn't much, so it gives you so much opportunity to be creative.
Yeah.
One of the other things you get as a Beorning is a starting virtue. So I think the two things that we've got left to talk about Karhu creating is cultural virtue choice and background, both of which I think are ripe for discussion.
Yes.
I actually wonder if we leave the background to the...
Yes, I think we should do that. Let's talk about your starting virtue, and let's tell our listeners what your background was.
But not talk about
We
it.
won't talk
Because
about
I think
it,
that's so entwined with the story of Karhu.
Yeah.
Which, because there's so much, and we want to talk about Karhu so much, we're going to split this up and give you even more Karhu content. Karhu miniseries.
The Karhu phase.
The Karhu phase.
Karhu
The
phase.
bear phase, I guess that translates up. So.
The bare necessities.
The bare necessities
of Karhu. Talk to us about your starting virtue.
Yeah, my brain went down a weird rabbit hole there. I took a Beorning cultural virtue of great strength. So underneath that it says, standing near was a huge man with a thick black beard and hair, great bare arms and legs knotted with muscles. Your strength score increases by 1. And can move freely while fighting. You may profit from the great strength and nimbleness. And I believe if you're using encumbrance, you get to go 1 rank up if you care about that sort of thing.
So again, leaning into the strength of the Beornings, hit things hard, very, very hard.
Yeah, really hard. There were, I think a lot of the Beorning cultural virtues, which you all know well, as playing Theodric, I thought a lot of them were really cool.
Yeah, we've talked about the twice baked honey cakes when we talked about Theodric. Now, I think later on in the game I
have taken another one.
You picked up one, didn't you? Which one was it?
I've taken Night Gore.
Oh, it's so
where
cool.
I can essentially have like a spirit bear leave me whilst I'm sleeping and go. It'll probably tell me in here how far I can go.
It's very far.
But within
3 days or something?
3 days travel, I can run as the spirit and scout for the group, which I thought was so cool. And also for Karhu's story at that time just made a lot of sense.
Yeah, it really did.
It's been really helpful at a couple of key moments.
Yeah.
And then we were talking just before we started recording that there's a recent thing where there was enemies coming, you knew they were coming, didn't know where they were going, what they were going to do, you didn't know who they were. You just had like a prophecy vision thing from Torvald. And so Karhu did the scouting thing for 3 days. And I didn't really know how far away they were. So Scott rolled a D100 for how many hours they were. I didn't know what they were rolling for at that time.
Yep.
But that was like how far away they were, and rolled just over 3 days travel
Yep.
in time. It was like a really like interesting moment of this ability could potentially have completely changed the next like 5 sessions or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a cool ability. It feels, I think, if you first read it, it feels ridiculously overpowered. Like, hang on, so in one night I can effectively see 3 days away. And you actually think about it, what you're really getting mechanically is some information about the kind of locale. Because you can't interact with the things that you see. And you don't get everything within 3 days. You describe and you've narrated like where the bear would be going. So I actually think it's a great example of giving loads of flavour and a benefit without it being ridiculously overpowered. And also, as the DM, you can...
It's visible as well.
Yeah.
So people know that Beornings are around. Like, you know, it's kind of... You know, it's not... I don't think it's so... And it's only once per long rest, and long rests don't come around very often. So
I think it's very
really
evocative.
good. I'm just thinking there that I think one of the main strengths of this game are the cultural virtues.
Yes.
Like, they add so much flavour, and they're really creative. Like, sometimes the classes can feel quite similar to D&D, and like there's a lot of stuff lifted or just, you know, slightly edited, which is fine. I don't mind that, but here there's a lot of like really interesting and novel ideas.
Well, it's interesting that we both started as a Beorning. We both chose a cultural virtue, different ones, and it affected the roleplay of both of us. So Theodric took twice baked honey cakes because... And for me, I start to weave that in the story that he travelled a lot, so he needed food for the road, and he gave it as gifts because he met new people, and that became part kind of his character, which I only thought of because it was a virtue. And then for you, for Karhu, again, that idea of Beornings and strength.
Yep. Just becoming a bigger,
stronger
bear of a man. Like, yeah, that as soon as I read that one, I was like, you're doing that. That's what you're taking at first level.
Makes a lot of sense.
So our final question.
Yes.
Your background, all the characters get a background which gives you your hopes and despairs, and it also often gives you a little additional flavour rule. Halmir, for instance, is Seeker of the Lost. We know that he's looking for his uncle. That was an easy decision. What did you pick from the beginning as your background for Karhu?
Before I say, this is my favourite part of this book.
Yeah?
Is the backgrounds.
Yeah.
I think for me...
I'm going to turn to them right now.
Every character I've made, this has been the thing that helps me come up with who that person is the most, is the backgrounds. So for Karhu, it was doomed to die.
Doomed to die.
Doomed to die. Did he die? Find out. On the next episode of The Fellowship Phase. No emails except on party business. And comment suggestions and questions to thefellowshipphase@gmail.com. The long year turns to its close. Much we have accomplished these last seasons. Our fellowship disbands, but is not broken, and we will return.
On the next episode of The Fellowship Phase.